Hey everybody, welcome to Video Night and Beyond, the podcast devoted to sci-fi, fantasy, and movies that are just a step beyond reality of the 80s and beyond. We are now into year 1986. I'm your host, Michael, and my co-host, John's on the other side.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
So if you have not heard this show before, John breathes into his microphone very strongly and disturbs the whole audio process. What were you, just eating your microphone? I'm just kidding. So what we do is we pick 4 films from every year. Hopefully that works. I think we're going to hit a stumbling block around 88 or 89. I can't remember which one. Or we're combining them into one episode. Yes, we do leave some stuff off, but, we can't do everything. So this episode we are picking what, John?
Let's see. Well, how about our first one will be Short Circuit.
Oh my god, I had so much fun watching this, and I think a lot of it, now, mind you, is A, I saw as a child in the theaters, and B, I have been to Astoria very many, I've just been there a lot, and I love seeing the locations that I've been to that are in this movie.
Well, that's the thing, is I definitely saw this when I was a kid too, and I loved the film when I was young, and yeah, when I saw the house near the bridge, I just sat there and went, wait a minute, I think I've been on that bridge, because my folks now kind of live up in that area.
Do they
so
now?
I had to go and check, and then I'm like, I've been on that bridge.
Wow. Yeah, it's that bridge is horrifying. But there's another small little piece where they're driving off of the cliff, and she tells them, no repair, no return, or whatever she says. And they hit the brakes suddenly. I've walked on that many times. That's the little piece of land that goes out to the boats if you have a private little boat. No one needs to know.
Yeah,
this.
I never get to see that area. No.
But this is a movie where we were going to go see Police Academy 3, and I talked my parents into seeing Short Circuit instead. And I find it strange now that we had Steve Guttenberg movies competing against each other.
Well, it's because at the time Steve Guttenberg was a star.
Yeah, the star. He was in everything for a few years there. It was amazing.
Now, I will have to break your heart a little bit. In watching this, I did not have a good time.
No?
This movie is boring.
Oh.
And here's the thing. There is some amazing stuff about this movie. Like the Johnny Five puppet is phenomenal.
Isn't it? I was blown away about how good it is.
It is so interesting, like as a character. It has so much personality. The guy doing the voice acting is phenomenal. I have nothing to complain about in regards to that. But for an hour and a half to about an hour and 40-ish, this movie just kind of drags its feet the entire time and is built on a premise based around the idea that they think these robots are going to be worthwhile combat, effective things. And they're the shittiest fucking robots ever. They are completely impractical. The fact that they're able, they have a powerful laser attached to them, but they aren't flexible or anything enough to actually really make that laser useful. Hell, Johnny is able to turn the robots off with a big red button that turns them off, just to reprogram them into these Three Stooges at one point. And I kind of think about the ethics of this film, in which Johnny, this number 5, who gains sentience and gains a conscience, decides that he's not going to awaken his fellow brothers, who are tools of the military. He's just going to fuck with them.
Yeah, here's the thing is, I think part of it is because I saw as a kid, but I don't think it's ever meant for really challenge. I know that's lazy, and I wish it did aim a little higher, but it does seem like it's just meant to entertain children and not be too complicated. It's more of a character piece than plot oriented.
Yeah, no, it is definitely a kid's film, and it works very much that way, and that's why I think as a kid I love it, and as an adult I love the work behind it.
Yeah.
And there's interesting stuff like Steve Guttenberg trying to figure out the sentience of Johnny Five, and he's coming up with tests and stuff like that to kind of prove whether or not this robot is just it's faulty programming, or does it actually manifest a soul. And that's it. There's interesting stuff, but then everything with G.W. Bailey, and it's basically you have Fisher Stevens and brown face, which
is nuts.
At the time, it was okay, but it's just very. Yeah, it's kind of uncomfortable now. You just like, oh.
If you look at all of Fisher Stevens' performance during the 80s, they're all very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah. But again, it's still I don't hate this film. I'm not trying to like knock this film down. But yeah, it's just I found it had serious pacing problems, and just it wasn't as interesting or even as fun as it was when I was a kid. And it being that way, it was more interesting to see kind of, like I said, the ethical and the philosophical ideas that they kind of want to address, but never get to that point because, again, like you said, it's intended for kids. It's not Pixar.
Right. And we'll see this, though. John Badham, this is kind of, I think, the end run of him as a serious filmmaker, because if you look at everything before this, of course, his big breakout moment was Saturday Night Fever, but he had done like Blue Thunder, War Games. All were, big audience kind of friendly movies. Not really for kids, but I mean, they were able to get a wide audience for these big ideas. And they never dumbed them down. This one, it does seem like it's too simplified. And then after this, it's kind of generic all the way through, except maybe Nick of Time with Johnny Depp. But, he does like Stakeout, Bird on a Wire, the remake of La Femme Nikita and stuff like that. So I think this is kind of the end run for Badham.
Yeah, I can see that. Although I do like La Femme Nikita. I did like.
Well, no, his
like
remake.
That.
Did you see?
Well, his remake.
Right. Point of No Return.
I can't think of the name of it. Thank you. Yeah, I did dig that one.
Yeah, and I feel like Guttenberg is
kind of rough.
I feel like Guttenberg is only on set for probably a couple weeks. This is one of those, like, let's just shoot around him. But it's mostly Ali Sheedy and Johnny Five, and that must have taken a really long time because of the technical difficulties. And we're going to talk about other movies with lots of special effects in this one, and this is the only one where I'm completely fucking sold on the work that they put into Johnny Five.
Yeah, it is definitely the best puppetry. Well, no. Yes and no. I will say it's maybe some of the better puppetry, but I think the next film we'll talk about has some phenomenal puppetry in it as well.
Okay.
Because the Johnny Five robot is designed to have stuff that can give it personality.
Right. It's the ET rule.
Little camera thing that.
Yeah, the weird shaped head and the big expressive eyes. It's the ET rule that they'll repeat forever.
Yeah, so I'll just jump right into it. The next one is Flight of the Navigator, which, I'll be honest, I'm kind of shocked that you had never seen, because, like, for me, this was the film of my childhood. Well, that and The Cat from Outer Space, but Flight of the Navigator is definitely one of the films I've seen the most. And for some reason, I always feel it's longer than it is. And then this time I watched it, but the last time I saw it, I was surprised at kind of how long it took to get to the spaceship.
Yeah.
Because it always felt like that was the largest piece of the film, the adventure in the ship, and it's halfway through the film where you finally get all the stuff with Paul Rubens as the ship's computer and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've only ever seen maybe a few minutes of that part. I thought that was the whole movie, basically. And when I watched it this time, like I said, I've never seen this before, just bits and pieces. And I really enjoyed this. I do think once they start making the robot voice more Pee-wee-esque, I was like, I don't know if that's the decision I would make. But because he's kind of annoying. But I enjoyed everything. It's like a kid. What's the show? Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like a Twilight Zone version for kids. Because you spend the first half of the movie going, what is happening? What is going on? How did this kid get here? How does he not remember any of this? How is his brain linked up to the computer? How is it doing all the talking for him? Who is calling for him? I loved that part more than the actual, hey, I'm in the ship now and I'm exploring, which was fun, but not as good as the first half. But
where I was going with the robot, the puppetry and stuff like that, you have Max, the computer that's ultimately it is completely voiced by Paul Rubens, but not doing a Pee-wee voice until he gets some of the kid's personality, which then, that's why he becomes an annoying child, is because the boy's an annoying child.
He's better than most children at the time, because in the 80s, most child actors were fucking abysmal. Just theatrical, stagey acting. And he's actually kind of decent. I didn't realize that he's the same kid from Runaway with Tom Selleck from 2 episodes ago.
I actually didn't even make that connection, honestly. But then again, I think a lot of that film kind of got blanked out in my head. But I was talking about the Max the puppet is also very expressive, but it has a lot less to work with because it's effectively an eye. And it's got a little bit of what could be thought of as a brow / mouth, but beyond that, it's a surprisingly, engaging puppet as well.
Yeah, it's really good.
All this stuff in the ship is. I'm not necessarily talking about the creatures that they have collected, but just the ship itself, like the little seat and stuff.
Yeah, well, whoever put in the production design made something so unusual, so interesting in its own inner workings. And it's CGI on the outside, and they picked a design that works really well for CGI because it looks fresh, clean, and almost, I don't want to say organic, but there's something like shell-like, like an organic shell, because it looks different than most spaceships.
Yeah, because it's this kind of, like saying it's like a shell. Yeah, it's like almost a seashell shape until it turns into a Corvette and jets around. And it's not a great effect, but I mean, you're going like very early CG, long before they even, before the creatures from the Abyss and T2, obviously. Mm-hmm. But it somehow manages to look very interesting, and again, it's doing this shifting, this little morphing thing from one shape to another, and for the most part, it feels, still feels like it has some kind of weight to it and some sort of definition in the space that's around it. But it's what was it? There was one thing that, not just the puppets and all that. There was when it lowers its little staircase. Now that's the actual morphing effect is not that good, but when you have the physical staircase there, that looks amazing because it does look like these pieces are just floating in the air.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it with maybe invisible wires and they put their weight on it. That's not how they did it, because maybe it literally is just like some sort of optical illusion that makes you think like maybe there's clear plastic, but it's really good.
Yeah, it tripped me out because I remember that staircase, but I didn't remember it being that good. But yeah, this also a film, I think one of the people on Twitter brought this point up, and I agree 100%. As a kid, you're all about the kid and the adventure and how cool a spaceship is. You become an adult, and this kid is taken from his home and dropped back 8 years later. And you can't imagine, well, you can imagine being an adult, what it'd be like for the parents.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, their kid just disappears, and then 8 years later, he's back, and he looks exactly the same, and it's a mind fuck.
Yeah, it's truly jarring for everybody involved. But yeah, they do make an importance of focusing on the parents for a while and their loss and their gain, but what they're gaining back is something that's so confusing to them.
Yeah, and it's like he had like a little brother who, when he says like, what, he's like 7 years old, I think, and then no, it's 8 years, so he was like 9 years old, and then when our kid comes back, it's now a 17-year-old teenager who's like, "You're exactly as I remember you. I'm sorry I scared you in the woods." It's insane what's happening.
Yeah, it's a really interesting movie. It's more complicated than most of the Disney stuff at the time, I would say. And it only did like 14 million, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those ones that you kind of see where in the 80s with, like, Black Hole. Well, I think that was 80. Black Hole, that the Black Cauldron, stuff that Disney was trying to do, and trying in some cases trying to be more mature, but not understanding how to do it at the time. Now, one that I think you hated, I'm pretty sure, was Howard the Duck.
I loved this as a child. I've seen this so many times to the point where my uncle purposely erased it because he was sick and tired of me watching it. I understand now. This movie's not good. It's very, very difficult to get through. It's long as shit. I don't understand how it's so expensive because the special effects just... I'm sorry, a $15 million movie called Short Circuit had better puppetry and better special effects than Howard the Duck. It's just exhausting, and the jokes are not funny.
You know what? This is a terrible, terrible movie. It's a piece of crap. I actually kind of enjoyed watching it.
Oh, but like for the shits and giggles? I mean, I love some shitty movies.
No. There's very little in this film that is genuinely good. Like, that's... Yet it does try things, which is to its benefit and to its detriment. And yes, there's nothing funny about the jokes. Oh, I'm sorry, no. There is one joke that's fun, where Jim Jeffries, as he gets possessed by this interdimensional evil thing, Howard and Leah Thompson stop at this diner, and Howard freaks out because they're serving him eggs, and those are baby chickens, so they're feeding him cooked babies, and all of a sudden a bar fight happens. Howard's getting his ass kicked, and Leah Thompson wants this interdimensional being to help him, and they took my eggs, and he doesn't want to help because he didn't get to have his eggs, and that genuinely made me smile. I thought the delivery was great. The fact that it's just such a little belligerent, childlike thing, that this creature that's supposed to, I've come to destroy your world, and I am evil. I am like a god unto you. Is just so petty that he's not going to do anything because he didn't get breakfast.
Yeah, he must have been tortured through the whole production. The special effects must have been brutal for him.
Yeah, there's also there's a scene where it's the only time I genuinely think the puppetry actually works for the character, and that's where you get Howard and Leah Thompson's character in her apartment for the first time, and he's pissed off because he's in this world that he doesn't get, surrounded by hairless apes, and she's kind of treating him like, I've never had a pet before. He's like, yeah, fuck you, kind of being just pissed off. And he's, starts talking about, they start having a conversation about, who was he? And, I went to medical school. I was going to be a doctor, but I didn't want to do that. So, and it's the puppetry, the guy in the suit, the voice, and the guy doing the voice. All of that actually comes together and actually delivers a pretty good scene.
Yeah, I will say that does times, work.
Yeah, she's not great all the time in it, but you're having to, in this really terrible film, and well, let's also say it's also worth watching just only because Leah Thompson is extremely hot, and there's a lot of stuff where she's wearing clothes that are very, or not wearing clothes that are very very nice
Yes.
for people who
Put that in the nicest way possible. I mean, the crimped hair. Come on, man. Come on. The crimped hair is fantastic.
Although it's got Tim Robbins in one of his first roles, and he is worst things ever. And it's like, I get it. You'll have to start somewhere, but
He cranks it up to the fucking sky.
he is possibly one of the absolute worst, things I could have imagined him ever doing or being in or anything. It's unfucking believable that he ever acted after that film. Technically, it's unbelievable that anyone acted after this movie, too, but...
Yeah, it's George Lucas's first real big egg.
Yeah,
I'm done, sorry.
Looks like a bad one.
Yeah, I just remember watching it so many times and loving it, and I watched it this time, I was like, no. I mean, I thought the special effects were cutting edge. I would say the monster at the end is really interesting, but I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't even top-notch stop motion.
No, it doesn't. Like I said, it's not a good movie. There's most of it's bad, but for some reason, it just entertained me. And I was watching it with one of my nieces, and I will say this, she did say the funniest thing ever, which was in the beginning, again, where they're first in the apartment, and Howard falls asleep on the couch. Leah Thompson goes through his wallet, and sappy music is playing, and she's like, "Oh God, don't let them fall in love."
By the way, I didn't know for years.
I paused the movie.
I had no idea for years what that condom was. No clue.
Yeah, that's one of the good things that kind of went over her head, of course. And she wasn't paying attention when duck boobs happened, so because that probably would have been a little jarring and scarring.
Yeah, squirming.
God, this movie's rated PG. Why is Howard the Duck rated PG?
Because it was 1986, you'd get away with a lot more back then.
There was PG-13 at that point.
I know.
But how about we move on to what was definitely the best film of the lot? And that is Aliens.
Oh, yes. I forgot. I didn't watch this, but I've seen it so many times I have it memorized. So, yes, I still say it's the best of the bunch. I know some people are starting to get crazy about the third one. I'm okay with the third one. It was the first one I watched.
Well, the third one, if you watch the assembly cut, it is a better film.
Yeah, it's the Aliens. When I saw it, I was completely enraptured. I was exhausted emotionally. It just blew me out of my fucking socks, and I became obsessed with it. I watched it all the time.
Yeah, I don't think it's my favorite one. I'll still go the first film is better for me because I like the fact that it's a horror film. It's a haunted house in space. It's a film where a 45-minute build, and then the next 45 minutes is all no holds barred tension. But in watching this, because I watched the extended director's cut, which is, I think, the definitive version of the film, even though there's stuff I would have cut from that. I think there should kind of be a happy medium between the two. But I forget how well Cameron can build tension.
Yeah.
Because this film is definitely intense, and it, like Alien before it, we spent a good amount of time building up to the reveal of the aliens. And then once it happens, it's, no holds barred. It's just, whereas Alien was a horror film, this is more of an action film.
Right. It's supposed to be, a metaphor for Vietnam, right?
Yeah, because the Space Marines are all decked out with their weapons, kind of looking as though they were, from Vietnam. They personalized all their gear and stuff. And it's also a highly, sophisticated military thing being taken out by, effectively, the least, technologically advanced, being.
Right.
But it's... Well, I have to ask you something. The end of the film, the alien queen gets jettisoned from the film. Gets jettisoned from the ship. Would that have actually killed the alien?
Does it need oxygen?
Yeah, these things are like truly like in the first film, the alien is shoved into the engine and it's blown away. So, okay, it's completely destroyed. This one is just jettisoned down to space, and it's been described many times as basically these are the perfect life form. It's designed to exist in the most harshest of conditions. It's a tough bastard to kill. Does it really need to breathe?
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's dead. It's just still floating around. One day it's just going to land. Well, maybe the atmosphere would have burned it up. Maybe that was.
No, but if you end up having some, you can have a sequel where someone just randomly, it bumps into a ship. People are like, what the heck is that? Oh, we got hit by something. What is it? Oh, look, let's go pull this thing in. Or it bumps in the ship and bleeds acid and gets its way in. And
right. Yeah, it's. I would say a lot of what works for this movie isn't just the fact that you got Corman. Oh my god. I quit the show. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassment. I was thinking of Corman because the next person, but James Cameron worked on Battle Beyond the Stars, where he met James Horner, who was doing the soundtrack, and he brings him over to Aliens, and I think he really just. I mean, that music got used in every trailer for like a decade. Do you remember? Even up through like From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
That dun 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 dun. And Stan Winston's special effects are amazing. I just really think it cranked up the notch, and it is my favorite of the bunch.
Yeah, it's like I said, it is such an amazing film, and either version, of the film is worth seeing. But I really think out of anything that was cut from the film that's in that extended cut, it's the whole Ripley's daughter stuff.
Yes.
And the gun sequence, the little turrets that are in the tunnels.
Uh-huh.
Because it's like you need that additional scene where it's like, the aliens know where they are. They're coming to get them. But you kind of have this in the theatrical cut. It's just the aliens forgot about it. And it's scary how close they get.
Right. Yeah, it's one of the most tension-filled because that means they're right inside the room. That isn't possible. I mean, this movie is so quotable. Like, game over, man. Game over. Put her in charge. It's just so funny. Like,
oh, yeah.
We would joke about this all the time. And, of course, this is the one that really influenced everything. Because there's so many different, sequels to this movie game-wise. And you see a lot of influence later, like in Starship Troopers. They're literally stealing the scene where he's like, come and get some, you too, you cute. Like stuff like that. You see, though, that emphasis in a lot of...
You talk about... It's like you're talking about quoting, especially. It's like... Oh, sorry.
There's a delay on your end or something because it's paused.
Actually,
Go ahead. We're talking over each other now.
Yeah, it's like I lost you for a second.
Go ahead. It's fine. Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, it's right in the room.
No.
It's right outside the door. John, seal it off.
You're back. You're back.
No, the sound was just like the little reader, the little locator thing in Aliens. I love it.
They're in the room. They mostly come out at night. Mostly.
Yeah, it's such a fun movie. Paul Reiser, man, he eats shit in that movie and deserves every little bit of it. Damn you, Corbin!
Oh, such the wormiest fuck ever. So much so that I was almost 100% certain that he was going to be one of the villains in what's it called? In Stranger Things season 2.
Yeah.
When they had him in it.
Yeah, I can see that. I was thinking that too.
Although, No, I don't want to go into a separate tangent. That would just be silly. Rein myself in.
Yep. All right, what is our fourth and final film?
That was our fourth.
It was?
Was it not?
Hold on. Navigator. Oh, no, you're right. You're right.
By the Navigator, Short Circuit, yeah. I'm going, wait a minute, was I supposed to see another film?
Nope, I forgot. Sorry, everybody. Okay, so we'll be back soon with the 1987 episode. We're soon going to be lined up with almost every show. I'm trying to get everybody on the same year. That way I don't constantly have to keep going back. So we're right now on Hit Rewind, we're mostly in 1988. And with you able to do the episodes a lot faster than everybody else, we're able to catch up. Now I got this one guy who we do all the thrillers and horror movies with. We're still stuck in 1982, so I don't think we're ever going to catch up. Though I will say this, in the 90s, there's hardly any horror movies or thrillers worth talking about, so we're going to jump ahead pretty fast.
What, you mean you're not going to talk about the greatest film of all time? The
Wishmaster?
Lawnmower Man?
No, we did that on Trash Cinema. We did both Lawnmower Mans.
I don't know. I think that still needs to be revisited.
No.
Couple of months.
No. Just now. No. Even not even the director's cut. No. All right, everybody. That is it for tonight. Have a good evening. And John, where can we check you out?
I am on Twitter. Look me up. Musician. MYUZISHION. I'm also on Twitch, streaming games under the same name.
Actually, I should for once just plug the Retro Rocket. It's at Retro Rocket Entertainment. Even though I changed the name a long time ago to Hit Rewind, I have no idea how to change my Twitter handle, so never mind. But you'll find everything there. We do daily polls, sometimes a little risque, but mostly it's about pop culture, and John likes to help me pick the topic for the day. So that is it for us, and this time I actually mean it. Have a good night.
Have a good one.